Hey guys, welcome back to Archangel Ministries. I apologize for my absence lately. I've been doing a lot of training, and as a matter of fact, I'll be training for the next 2 weeks. Uh, I'm working on getting credentialed in a few different things, and am imbibing in the process of getting credentialed to train others in firearms and active shooter and things of that nature. Uh, Reason being is because I want to handle the training of the teams we're building personally. However, that is not the purpose of today's video. The purpose of today's video is to discuss Sound of Freedom. Janice and I went and watched it about a week ago. Yeah, about a week ago. And, I have to say the movie was very well done. Very well done. Man, where to even go? There's so much to actually talk about. Give me a moment. Now, the movie is actually based around Tim Ballard's first actual operation in child rescue, as opposed to just the human trafficking aspects of like the DHS altogether. The DHS actually told him to come back home or he had to quit in order to rescue these children. And Tim Ballard and his wife chose for him to quit his job and actually go with the operation that he was currently running and seek to rescue the kids. Now I understand there's a lot of, how do I say this nicely, garbage opinions out there about Tim Ballard and Jim Caviezel and the movie altogether and everything else. You guys seen it in the media. Oh, this is just one big conspiracy theory and blah, 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 blah. To people like that, I simply say, how many kids have you rescued? None, right? How many children have you raped? I'm willing to bet the number's more than one. Just saying. And unfortunately, this film and the actors involved and stuff have also generated a lot of controversy as far as the quote-unquote Christian community goes. Now, whereas I don't know Jim Caviezel personally, and therefore I can't really vouch to what he's involved in or has previously been involved in or anything to that nature. I very much like to make a very stern point here. Can a man not repent? Can a man not turn to Christ truly and change from who he once was? Did you? It's a fair question, right? And even if he didn't, can Christ not use even the most evil of men to fulfill his will and his purpose? The answer to that is a huge resounding yes. Yes, he can. Did Christ not use the Pharisee and the Romans to fulfill Christ's purpose? Yeah. Kinda did, didn't he? Yeah. So, despite what your opinions are, the good coming from this film far outweighs your personal opinion. At least it does in my viewpoint. I know that we have seen a decent increase in people interested in getting involved in the field of child and human trafficking rescue just on our end. So there's that. And I'll tell you what, let me take it one step further. All right? For all you Christians and stuff out there running your mouths and trying to drag this film down, in my personal view, I think you are going against God's will in this matter. And if you don't like that, that's fine. care. Don't make the mistake of trying to argue with me on it, though, because I'm simply going to set you straight and then tell you to go on somewhere else. So let me bring up a scripture very, very quickly. Give me just 1 second. I'll pull it up for you real quick just so you can see exactly what I'm referring to here. Dive into First Philippians. All right, now in this particular passage here, we find that Paul is in prison, of course, and he is coming into remembrance of the mission that's still ongoing while he is shackled and chained. And let's move down, beginning at verse 15, okay? You know what? Let's just go ahead and start at verse 12. Now, I want you to know, brothers and sisters, that what has happened to me has actually served to advance the gospel. As a result, it has become clear throughout the whole palace guard and to everyone else that I am in chains for Christ. And because of my chains, most of the brothers and sisters have become confident in the Lord and dare all the more to proclaim the gospel without fear. It is true, some preach Christ out of envy and rivalry, but others out of goodwill. The latter do so out of love, knowing that I am put here for the defense of the gospel. The former preach Christ out of selfish ambition, not sincerely, supposing that they can stir up trouble for me while I am in chains. But what does it matter? The important thing is that in every way, whether from false motives or true, Christ is preached. And because of this, I rejoice. Now, the reason why I bring up this particular passage is because it perfectly embodies my entire view about the film, right? Because I personally do not care what Caviezel previously was involved in or may still be actively involved in. And I will unabashedly tell you right now that if Jim Caviezel knew who I was or discovered my background and called me up today and said, Jason, I would very much like for you to come and join my personal security detail, I would do it. Some of you may ask why. Well, the answer is twofold. One, career-wise, why not? And two, I would actually get to know Mr. Caviezel on a personal level. And I could vouch for his character, or lack thereof, in whatever means or regard that may take form. My point is simply that, apart from the passage we just examined, we also know that Paul made a point of instructing the church on how it is we are to handle issues we take with our brethren. All right? Now, whether you think Jim Caviezel is a fake or not, to me is an irrelevant and kind of a moot point, simply because anytime you've seen him on camera, especially for the last number of years, he has unabashedly proclaimed that he is saved or that he is Christian, albeit Catholic. And by de facto, that would make him, whether you like it or not, part of the brethren. So, what did Paul say? Paul told us if we had aught with our brethren or some kind of an issue, that we would go to them personally and discuss it with them and try to bring correction if correction is to be had, right? And if that didn't work, we went and got a few other people that recognized the problem, and we would approach him as a group and discuss it with him in an attempt to bring correction. Then, if that didn't work, we would go to the head of the church or the leader, and we would shun them as far as the church is concerned, and even to a certain extent make it publicly known that they are unrepentant and unwilling to correct their course of action. How many of you people have done this? I'll wait. I'm seriously doubting the answer is very many of you at all. So, having said that, before running your mouth or typing away at your keyboard, are you really examining yourself in the light of God's Word? If not, perhaps you should. I'm not saying that there aren't some questionable things out there revolving around Caviezel or Ballard or any of the people involved with this particular film. I'm not contesting that at all. I am simply stating that before you go off running your mouth to the public and bashing a film and a bunch of actors that God is clearly using for a specific task and purpose, even if they don't understand what is going on and how God is actually using this in His favor and in the favor of the millions of children and adults victimized by human trafficking every year, then maybe you should step back and cool your jets a bit. Just saying. You don't have to agree with me, but if you've been around this channel long enough and if you know me personally, I'm going to tell you like it is, and I'm going to give you the facts of the matter. Unapologetically. You know, it is what it is. So, having said that, the film was actually very well done. When we went to see it, I was actually very concerned as to what to expect from the film and what possible triggers it might have for me personally. I mean, you guys know my past, you know my testimony, my history. This is a logical type of concern. But I was pleasantly surprised. Mr. Ballard has publicly spoken and said there were a lot of things that happened that he refused to allow them to show on film, simply because the nature of it and the harsh truth behind it and everything else. And whereas you guys know me, I tend to deliver truth in a very blunt and brutal fashion at times. There was wisdom in him doing that. In two parts. One, the way that the film was edited and put together and everything allowed for someone like myself or another victim of this type of trafficking or trauma, even satanic ritual abuse, could watch the film without being extremely triggered, which is good. The other, it also toned it down enough for your average audience member to be able to grasp it without being completely emotionally destroyed, which was a very wise move on his part. Admittedly, I do not know Mr. Ballard personally, so I cannot vouch for his personal life or his denomination or anything of that nature. And I will be honest with you, I'm not a huge proponent of Angel Studios, though I will give credit where credit is due, and this film was very well done. Very well done. If you are human and can actually watch this film without tearing up, without feeling that rage or emotion at certain parts, then I question your humanity. I question how much of it is actually left. And that's just the simple truth of it. Now, there has been a lot, and I mean a lot, of backlash from components of the media. And we have to question why. I mean, this is a $150 billion a year industry. Those kids are kidnapped, taken from their families, taken from their homes. Some of them are harvested as orphans due to war, famine, pestilence, natural disasters such as earthquakes, volcanoes, hurricanes, that kind of stuff. These major catastrophic events, do you know what traffickers call those? They refer to it as harvest time, because it is so easy for them to move in and take whomever they want, and there'd be virtually no backlash because the authorities, the police, the military, whoever's involved is so overwhelmed that they get a free pass to do whatever they want. The only thing standing between that child's freedom and them having a beneficial and successful life is those traffickers. The only thing standing between those traffickers and those children are teams like ours. We have an upcoming interview that's going to be released on the Campermon podcast. Me and AC went on there and hung out with Mike Stibbs for about an hour and talked about these things. And I'm not going to lie to you, I was, thank God for AC. He is a lot more diplomatic than I tend to be, and tends to handle conversations and public appearances and stuff a bit more restrained and eloquent than I do. So you're going to see both sides of that coin in that upcoming interview. So when it's released, please check it out. But to get to the crux of the matter, there's a lot that goes on that we need help with. But I'll discuss that in a second. I also wanted to discuss another aspect of what's been going on with Sound of Freedom. We've seen a lot of backlash from the theaters and people who went to go see the movie, particularly AMC theaters, where there's been several, just probably hundreds of reports at this point about how their tickets were refunded, and for some reason only the theater showing Sound of Freedom for some reason didn't have air or had some sort of a fire or explosion or something like that was reported and would cancel people being able to view the film. I know when we went to see the movie, was it about a quarter of the way into it, there were a couple of people that ran into the theater and started trying to throw garbage at the audience, yelling and screaming that only people that are the N-word, D-I-double-G-er, watched that film, and that everybody watching it was a N-I-G-G-E-R. And this is not the first report I've had from people who have watched this film in our local area. So, who's behind it? Were they wouldn't dare reveal themselves to the people in the audience. Was this employees of the theater, perhaps? I think it's a fair question. God knows, had I been sitting closer to the side of the aisle that these people were throwing stuff from, I would have jumped over that barricade and took them to task without a moment's hesitation. Unfortunately, my position in the theater did not allow for such, and by the time that I got up, they had ran out. So, if this film is so bad, if everyone involved in it is so evil, why is the enemy so afraid of it? Maybe people should ponder that question a bit more before running their mouths. Okay. Like I said, the movie was very well done, and for any person that has run these type operations and done this type work, you would be able to vouch for the accuracy of the investigation portrayed in the film. So, guys, I endorse it. Hey, go check it out. All right? Don't make the mistake of passing judgment or making claims against it without first at least seeing it and praying about it with God and asking if this is something He's using to raise awareness of this problem and raise up people to actually fight for these children. That's my only request. Now, before we close this video out, I just wanted to give you guys a few updates. There was a slight problem with Printful and Stripe, which is our payment processor. So there was a delay to a couple of orders that came in as far as like shirts and hats and stuff goes. One of the problem with the hat, or one of the hats, was the design that I had done was a bit too complex for their embroidery machine to actually do it. So I did a slight redesign on the hat just to make it simpler so there wouldn't be any problems with the embroidery and stuff like that. And I've redesigned one of the shirts to eliminate a couple of the issues with the printing. So that stuff should be cleared up very soon, and the order should be printed and moved out to you. For my friends on the Patreon community, I wanted to let you know that the new chapter is coming out soon. I was hoping to get it finished up before I started training this previous week, but after rereading the chapter, it didn't really make the point that I was striving to make, so I have been doing a rewrite on certain parts of the chapter, and I'm hoping to have that finished and out to you guys, hopefully, next week. I'm hoping for Monday, but I'm not going to swear to that because the training I'm doing is extensive, I guess would be the best way to put it, and pretty brutal. I mean, for example, yesterday we did a lot of training in hand-to-hand combat, self-defense, firearms disarmament, and then at the end of the class we actually had to line up and get maced or pepper sprayed, and managed to actually find our way around enough in order to fight after that had happened, doing knee strikes and things of that nature before we were even able to start the process of detoxing and cleansing the stuff from our eyes and everything else. It was pretty brutal. Not going to lie to you. It was crazy. But, you know, the entire group of people that I was training with, you know, we made it through it like a boss. And, you know, it's another thing under my belt. So, hey, let's keep pushing. Now, we have had some questions come up as far as the ministry, the structure, when training is going to begin, and things of that nature. And I'm trying to move this process along as quickly as I possibly can. The problem that we're having, really apart from my personal training schedule and work-related stuff and everything else, is a financial question. We need more support, to be perfectly honest. We're reaching out, we're doing interviews with the people that we can, and, you know, getting things arranged as appropriately as we can. However, the finances simply aren't there at the moment. For me to be able to travel to another state like Ohio or Texas or Florida or wherever else we are building teams at, much less the overseas operations right now. I'll give you kind of a rundown of what we're looking at. Let's use, well, you know, we'll just go ahead and do the entire thing. In order for us to travel to another state or travel to another country, right, we have to have the funds there that are going to make sure that our personal bills and stuff are paid. I know on my side, just the bills and stuff that I have, it's roughly probably around $3,000 a month on the low end. It's actually probably closer to $4,000 once you count rent and everything else, and that's not counting groceries, gas, stuff like that. So we have to be able to have support for us to have our life sustained in order to do this stuff. Uh, then there's the cost of travel. I don't do planes unless I'm going over country. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Me and the TSA do not get along at all. I mean, it's just, I understand what they're doing. As a security expert, I respect it. Don't touch me. It's just what it is. All right? There's a way for you to do your job without violating my personal space. So, that's all I'm going to say about that. So we have to account for fuel. We have to account for where we're going to stay at. Not to mention the training materials. You know, we have to have access to a range or something for the security teams to be trained at. We have to have access to a facility. I don't care if we set it up in somebody's house, but it has to be done. You know, or a church or whatever. So we also have to have food. We also have to have water. We also have to have, most importantly, time. You know, let's say we have a team that's ready to go to the point of physical, tangible, in the field training, because I don't do actual training unless it's person to person. There's some stuff that I can teach you online, digital platforms and stuff like that, but to actually know what you're doing and get comfortable with it, I have to come up there, Janice has to come up there, or AC has to come up there, and we have to do the training in person. So you can cut your teeth under someone that knows how to run an operation, so you can adapt and get used to the way that we do things. After that, I don't mind if you make tweaks here and there and, you know, kind of generate your own flavor for how you run the operation stuff. But we have to be able to be there to take you out into the field and show you, hey, this is the way we do it. This is how we gain human intelligence. And this is how we build case files for actionable operations and details, you know? So that has to be done. So if I'm gone for a week, then not only do I have to have the expenses covered for the travel and the training expenses, but I also have to have my bills here covered. You know, because as a security contractor, I can't just up and take a week off, 2 weeks off, 3 weeks off, or whatever here and there whenever I want to. So this is the reason why we've really been working on our networking and trying to bring in people that are supportive of this type of work in order to gain the finances and stuff we need for me to do this, because my active role in Archangel Ministries is one that I train the security teams. I train the extraction teams personally, one-on-one. All right? So, you know, we have to be able to cover our own as well. So having said that, if this is something that God is calling you to, please reach out to us. Love to talk to you. Love to sit down and have a conversation. If you know someone that runs a podcast or any other type of networking program or whatnot, and they'd like to sit down and discuss what we do and how we differ from like Tim Ballard or some of the other ministries and whatnot, then please, by all means, reach out to us. We would love to go on their show and talk about the realities of child trafficking and everything else. If God has placed you in a position where you can support us financially, then I ask you can do that. I don't care if it's $5, a $5 donation. A donation's a donation. All right? If you feel like donating really isn't what you're supposed to do and you'd rather buy a shirt or a hat or something like that, then please, by all means, do that. If you would like to get a subscription on the webpage where you have direct access to my book and the videos that go along with it, then do that, because it is updated per chapter. As soon as a chapter is done and released to the public, it is also uploaded, and ready to be released, and it is uploaded to the subscriber page on the website, and you will have direct access to it. And I am currently in the process of getting things organized for me to be shooting and recording training videos for people for personal protection, protecting their homes, protecting their kids, as well as training videos for like members of the security teams and things of that nature. So that's another avenue, right? Having said that, guys, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you hanging out with me to the end. Normally I don't ask this, but we've been being shadow banned a lot as far as like the YouTube algorithm and stuff like that goes. So I would ask that you please click the like button if you think that what we do and the information we bring out is important. Leave a comment for us, because however their algorithm is set up on YouTube, apparently doing these two things does move our videos up as far as the algorithm goes and gives us more exposure to people, which is very helpful to us as far as networking and raising funds for our operations and the ministry work that we do. So having said that, thanks for hanging out with me, guys. This is Archangel, signing out.